Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, and the mic is just getting warmed up as the Guardian of the Blue Paint turned writer is about to enlighten us. The show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. For this week's show, the Hockey Writers Ink welcomes Jason Myrtetus. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Ink. Join Lance and Steel as we bring you all the latest on the Flyers.
Hi, guys. Welcome back to a very special edition of the Hockey Writers Ink. As always, I'm your host, Lance Green.
And as always, I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers. And ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Green, we have got a very special guest sitting in here with us tonight, don't we?
I think so. I'm excited about this show.
I am too, and I've been looking forward to this for a very long time. Mr. Jason Myrtetus, the host of Flyers Daily with Jason Myrtetus. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. It's a lot better coming off a win than an 11th straight loss, I'll tell you that. Oh, my God, right?
True.
It makes things a lot better to talk about when there's positivity in the room automatically, right?
Yeah, I mean, it may be fleeting, but...
Yeah, they got some tough games coming up for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's funny too, Lance, like when you're not a very good team, you look at the schedule and you're like, oh my God, this is a really tough league because not everybody, but a lot of teams are better than you. And when you're a really good team, you look at it and go, man, when are we going to have some tough games here? Like a measuring stick game so we can go, are we really that good or whatever? But that's just the way it is. And, you know, there's 32 total teams now. So you look at it and you go, oh man, we're playing that team. Oh, they're above us in the standings. They're above us in the standings. They've won 8 of 11. You know, you get kind of freaked out, but you just can't. You just got to pay attention to what's next.
Right.
For sure. And we would like to, first of all, give you the Hockey Writers Ink salute, man, for sure, for being the busiest man in Philadelphia, man.
Yeah.
For sure. You definitely got it going on when it comes to Flyers coverage. You are the main man, pots and pans, when it comes to anything Flyers. You are the go-to. And so this is a real honor and a privilege to have you on here. So we just want to let you know that. And we're very happy to have you on here. So we're going to get right into it, man. We at Hockey Writers Ink here, man, we don't pull any punches, and we pretty much call it like we see it.
Good.
Yeah.
As
so,
you
I mean,
damn well should.
That's right. And we don't always talk about the popular things, but we talk about the things that need to be addressed, at least is what we feel. Lance writes the articles and I write the shows. And so this is how it rolls. And the first question I'm going to ask you right off, Jason, because I know you do a lot of coverage on the Flyers. You're eyeball deep in the team. You've got your pulse on it. In the last 3 games, what has been the biggest difference on the Flyers in the last 3 games?
Well, I kind of got to separate them because of the win versus the losses. If I look at those, you know, the last 3 games that they lost as part of the 0-7 and 3, you know, the last part of that 10-game winless skid. First of all, I hate the fact that we got to call it a winless skid. It's a losing streak.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah.
You know, that's the
not
thing.
sugarcoated.
What it is.
Well, you didn't lose. You lost in overtime. So that's not really a loss. I say
Like kissing your sister.
There's one team that goes home that won the game and the other team goes home that lost the game. I don't care how it happened, if it was a shootout or whatever. But the last 3 games, you know, it's weird because they don't have a ton in common. The Washington game and the Islander loss have a lot in common. And the Calgary game to some extent as well, and even the Montreal game does. The Pittsburgh game to me is a bit of the outlier. It's been the outlier of the season too, not because they lost the game or because they lost it 4-1. It was because that was the game that I didn't feel like they had the same level of intensity in the game.
Oh man,
it was definitely lacking, right? And you know, they had it in the third period, but I don't care about the third period. When the game is in hand, I mean, they clearly let their foot off the gas, did the Pens. And the Flyers outshot them in the third. You guys know me. I don't care about shots. Shot totals, they don't mean anything. The only thing they mean is that a goalie may have a higher save percentage because he got a bunch of, you know, wiffle balls tossed at him from the outside. And as a goalie, you love those because they just keep you in a game. They make you feel connected to it. But To me, that's the one that kind of sits out as different. The other ones are all tight games, but they found ways to lose. And, teams in hockey and a lot of team sports, when you put players in a higher level than they're ready for or they're equipped to handle, you see mistakes. And like I see it on social media, I see guys, these guys are pro players. He's got to know not to throw a blind backhand up the middle in the D zone. Like, you don't throw a pizza to the middle. Yeah, we all know that. That dude knows it too. Problem is that when you're playing at a level that's not commensurate with where you are, that you make those mistakes because you think you don't have time. You are overwhelmed, and you think the puck is a grenade with a pulled pin, and it's going to explode on you. So you go, you throw a backhand pizza up the middle, turnover, and it's end up in the back of your net. So that's part of it, is having too many guys right now with all the injuries that aren't ready for this stage. Should be in the AHL. Can they get something out of being in the NHL? I think so, and it's out of necessity, but I think you saw that in those games. I thought you saw key moments where they can't outscore their way out of some key moments. They just can't score. I mean, they're the lowest scoring team in the league. Right. So I think that's part of it. And also, when you don't have any veteran players or high-end players in the lineup, it's hard to close out. And you saw that in, the Columbus game, 2 empty net goals, to lose 5-2, basically a 3-2 game, right? Then you look at the game against Montreal, and they have a lead late. You get a broken stick and a 6-on-4. Caulfield ties it. You end up losing it, in the shootout. The Washington game, they're in that game. They're leading that game. Washington gets it tied on the late goal. Was it offside? Wasn't it offside? I don't think it was. And then in overtime, they end up winning it. So you find a way to put a win in peril, and that's what they've done, with the exception of the Islander game on Tuesday night, where they went out and it was diligent from the start to the finish, very detailed. Even when the Islanders had momentum, they didn't get a lot of quality during the periods when they had clear momentum. And I thought the Flyers did a really good job with their structure and kept things clean for Carter. And when you keep things clean for your goalie like that and adds a level of predictability, it's going to make his job a lot easier. And I think you saw him have a night that was much more like the beginning of the year.
For sure. And I definitely think, Jason's hit the nail on the head here. But a couple of points to add to that. When you get in these long losing streaks, you're going to press. You're going to try things that you probably shouldn't because you're trying to make something happen. And, like you said,
streak and whatever.
Right. You're trying to make something happen. And especially these younger guys, like Jason said, that probably shouldn't even be here right now. They're trying to make a name for themselves and stand out so that they actually have a position on this team moving forward next season or whatever else too. So it's a lot of, trying to impress, trying to push when they probably shouldn't. And that's what I've seen from the last couple of games as well. They're trying to do a little too much instead of just settling down and playing their game. But there's nobody they can really pass the puck to, like Jason said, that's going to close out the game. That's going to be out there to really finish it when it's a close game. Like they have been for the most part. They've had some 5-1 losses or something to some bigger teams. But for the most part, they've been in some games that are 1-2 goal games and have allowed myself and most of the fans this year to even be able to watch the whole game as opposed to last season, turning that off, because they're actually still trying. For the most part, they're still going out night in and night out, trying to compete and putting forth the effort that Torts wants them to. And I think they have been, except for that game against Pittsburgh where it was too little too late. So it's tough when you have this many injuries. Obviously you're going to be losing games, and is it going to hurt? My question is it going to hurt the youth? Because you want them to develop. You would really want them to develop in the AHL, like some of our guys, some of our top prospects still are down there. But you had to call up so many different players that really aren't deserving to be up here yet. And is it going to break their spirit, their everything they got going for them up until this point?
Right. Yeah.
That's kind of the scary point. And the only real person I've seen, out of this season that has really been a godsend in this in this whole fiasco with all the injuries has been Kevin Hayes in my mind. He's playing at over a point per game pace, and he really is just going out there night in and night out and delivering like he should have been since being signed to this, inflated contract for the most part for a guy that's never really put up any more than 50 points a season. So, that's my 2 cents on the last couple of games and basically the season so far.
I think there's 2 parts to that. I think there is a part, like you said, where, guys are making mistakes through aggression and trying to make something happen for a team that struggles to score. But I think there's also the other side to it. Then also some guys have gotten into a position of not trying to make plays because they don't want to make a mistake. And both are the enemy of offense. Both of those things. Doing things out of desperation to create is an enemy of offense because ultimately you're pulling it out of the back of your net, number one. And then number 2, being afraid to make a mistake. There's a happy middle where you have to have confidence to – anytime you want to generate offense in hockey, you have to assume risk because you have to put the puck at risk to if you want to play fast, you have to put the puck at risk. You have to stretch the ice. You have to take on some things. An aggressive forecheck takes on risk like they run. They run a 2-1-2. And look, that works great when it works, but when it doesn't, like we saw in the one game, I think it was Calgary, 2 2-on-1 goals. Huberdeau gets the first one. I forget who got the second one. I want to say Dubé. 2 2-on-1 goals in the first period, both because the forecheck wasn't in fast enough and F3 didn't read the play when the D pinched down the wall. Ends up being a 2-on-1.
It works a lot better when Scott Laughton's in there for the forecheck.
Yeah.
He's the
like
force
Wade
that's
Allison
been running
too,
that. Yeah,
right?
Wade Allison. Perfect
F1
example.
has got to be on it. F1's got to go, okay, dump. I'm going full tilt. And we're either going to split on the forecheck or we're going to trap the defender. And all you're trying to do is force him into your teeth with a 2-1-2.
Yeah.
And then the D's coming down the wall. F3's sliding back. 2 D's backing up a little bit to give you a little bit because it can get beat with one pass. And if it gets beat with a pass, then it's an odd man rush the other way. We saw it a ton last year with AV, right?
Exactly.
Right.
So you got to look at it and go, okay, we got to incur risk. But, Torts is a guy that really pushes aggression. Like everybody thinks it's so funny because there's so many narratives about Torts that are wrong that I think it's funny.
Well, what's the right one then?
Well, the right – see, everybody thinks that he just wants you to block shots and defend, and that's total complete baloney.
Okay, well, that's part of it, but I mean, there's a lot more, yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's a ton. I mean, the notion that players hate playing for him. No. I talked to 16 of 17 guys this offseason that loved playing for him. One of them was kind of ambivalent, but you're never going to please everybody. And everybody thinks that, he's so hard on players. I pray for the Flyer players now that Torts is here. They all love playing for him, because he's got their back. And exactly what happened during this 10-game winless skid. After they lost their 10th game, what was the big storyline? Was it that they lost their 10th game? Or was it that John Tortorella wouldn't answer a couple of questions in a media scrum?
Right.
It was that John Tortorella wouldn't answer questions in a media scrum. He made himself the enemy and took the heat off his players. And he did that because he didn't do that on purpose. And I thought he answered plenty of questions, by the way, before the part that came into play. I agree. Thought that was completely misrepresented. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Which is why I posted the full press conference. But that became the narrative. Make him the enemy. He's fine with that. Players love that. Andy Reid did it as the Eagles coach forever. I got to do a better job. That whole thing. It's all baloney.
That was pretty good.
Taking the heat. So everybody would get PO'd at Andy Reid and forget that the players are the ones that's messed up in the game, right? So Torts does that, and players like that. So there's a lot of narratives about him that, his teams don't drive offense. Baloney. Atkinson scored 41, 35, and 36 with him as a head coach. Zach Werenski came in as a rookie D in the NHL. Point getter. Cut him loose right away, as long as you perform as non-negotiables.
Right.
Do that, you got no problem. It's like a retractable dog leash, right?
Yeah.
You go, I'll give you more to go out there and sniff around, provided you're doing what I require you to do in certain areas with and without the puck.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
and effort too, right?
And I always say, John Tortorella, like the players that are going to have a problem with him, he's already figured it out that he doesn't want him on their team, on his team anyway. And because they don't listen or don't perform those key tasks that he's asking them to do. They want to do their own thing. They want to be that player. They're not buying into the system that he's trying to get them to play. And if they did, it would benefit them, but they refuse. So he's going to make them leave before they even know that they want to. He's going to start that process going to get them out so that he can get people in that are going to buy into his system, that are going to play, in my mind, the game the right way, finishing team hockey, finishing checks, standing up for your players, old school hockey that, me and, you, Jason, played as a kid. So I like this. This is a refreshing coaching style for me, because I played my best when I had a coach on my behind, when I was not playing well.
Under heat.
And I went, and I was going to go out there and prove him wrong. You know what I mean? And I think that is, also what this group of players, I think they got a good group of young talent and a couple older guys, veterans in the lineup that are buying into this John Tortorella system. And, if we could get everybody healthy, that'd be great, and it would work out a heck of a lot better. But
He has been the biggest factor for me as far as how I've looked at the team this year. How things have changed has been based off of what he has done for this team. It's like what you said, Jason. It's not just about, blocking shots and everything like that. Yeah, every coach wants that, but he's doing the other things like making you accountable. He's doing those other things like saying, hey, I need you, taking you aside and saying, hey, I need you to do this, and this. Okay? And go do it. And if they're not going to do it, he's going to put you on the bench, or he's going to put you up in the press box.
Doesn't matter who you are.
And see, and I don't think Philadelphia has been ready for that. And now they're getting it, and I don't think they quite know how to handle that. You know what I mean? It's like, look, I am going to be the first one to admit that I have done a complete 180 degree on Tortorella. I was not really a fan of his coaching, was not really a fan of how he did things in the past, but I see a more mature Tortorella. I see a more learned Tortorella. I see now a more perfect coach for the Philadelphia Flyers at the right time, right now is Tortorella.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I was beating the drum for him for years. The semantics in the media and all that stuff, I found it entertaining. I didn't find it. I think everybody's a little thin-skinned these days. And,
for sure,
today's athlete is different than, when I was growing up. I'm 50. Yeah. And they have to be shown more now than just told, which is fine. And he told us the other day, we meet with him before every game as broadcasters. He told us I've done more video through the first quarter of the season this year than I've ever done in my career, and showing guys, certain things, their shifts, other shifts, and very little of the opposition. It's never been about the opposition this year for Torts. It's about them and what they do. And like accountability is a really fun word and all that, and you can preach accountability. Accountability in the framework of the Flyers right now is two things. Number one, accountability, you can say it and all that stuff, but if you don't believe in self-accountability, like when you go home, if you look in the mirror and lie, then that's a problem. You know what I mean? Like you can say like, oh, I got to be better, blah, blah, blah. But if you go home and you're like, my teammates got to be better, not me, then you got no chance with Torts, because Torts will bring that to the forefront. Yep. Number one. And number two, accountability only matters when it never takes a minute off. And Torts never takes a minute off. And he doesn't care. Kevin Hayes is a point per game player. He was dropped down to the fourth line in the Penguin game at one point and put on the wing for essentially a rookie.
Yeah.
He was benched in a San Jose game where they ended the period down 2-0 against a really bad team and didn't play a shift in the third period. So if they can bench that dude, they can bench anybody. He's the most prolific offensive player to this point. And like I've said this on my podcast, I said, Players need to be careful. Don't laugh at the dude that got benched because you could be next like that.
Right.
let your foot off the gas at any time. You could be next. That Grim Reaper of accountability is coming for you all at some point. It's coming.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's outside your door, ready to knock on your door, but if you let up, he'll be, I'm here. There's two places you can go. You can either go to the bench and hang out there and watch your teammates play from ice level, or we can put you upstairs with the popcorn. You know what I mean? And like Coachy says, in his day, when they healthy scratch you, you had to sell popcorn. You literally had to walk around the arena and sell it.
Well, that was before they even really had true arenas. They were just putting, they would just put water out there and freeze it, overnight and play on that.
With a garden hose.
You're right.
But no, I mean, so that's when it actually, like, you can say, oh, there's accountability on this team, but if it doesn't come to work every day, accountability, it doesn't matter. And there's one thing we know about Torts is he brings it every day. And some guys, look, some athletes need to be pushed. Some athletes are dying to be pushed. Yeah. Others hate to be pushed. And those guys that hate to be pushed to go to an uncomfortable area will find themselves not here. Yeah. And the last thing in regards to that is, another one of the narratives about Torts was, oh, those poor players are going to have to deal with this tyrannical egomaniac accountability. Look, these guys are professional athletes.
Right. Getting paid millions.
Yeah, you don't get there without getting pushed along the way. There's very few guys that woke up, came out of mom at birth, and were charting a course to get to the NHL and be the top 1% of the top 1% without having to work their tail off along the way to get there. Even Connor McDavid had to work his butt off at points to be a great player. You don't just come out with this. It's not like we're a giraffe. We slip and slide all over the place, and then we gain our footing and we're good. Yeah. It's not how it works in this sport because it's unnatural to wear steel on your feet that's sharpened, chasing around a vulcanized piece of rubber. You've had to have it had worked.
Yeah.
That's the game.
I mean, I'm not usually in league of giving opposition credit, but when you look at like Sidney Crosby and what he did throughout his training career, we talked to a kid who was 16, Nathan Free, playing for the Brooks Bandits. He said that his parents allowed him to have his garage turned into a shooting gallery so that he could just practice shooting the puck. And he said he would go through, he would put a stack of pucks right at the foot of the, the front of the garage there. And Hundreds. He would just have, he would just have,
yep. Well, Sid shot into a washing machine.
Right.
They had a washing machine that he shot pucks into. I can't imagine the noise that made.
Yeah.
Because you put a sneaker in your washing machine by accident with a load of laundry.
And put one in the dryer.
Yeah, exactly.
One in the dryer, yeah.
Yeah. Right. That's what he was shooting to, a dryer.
Yeah.
With a front loader, right?
Yeah.
I mean, my son, like down below my studio, we have a net in our garage. We have 20-foot ceiling, so I'm in a lofted space that's a studio all encapsulated and soundproofed above it. But my son's down there at all hours, and all I hear is him stick handling it. And I swear he has never hit just the net. He hits the post every time, and the posts are like destroyed and dented and everything.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you love the game,
it's a good thing my parents take the cars out of the garage.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be very on brand for my car to be all banged up with pucks, though.
But that's the level of work that needs to go into being one of the best.
Yeah.
Okay. And all you have to do is look at the best and ask them, and they'll be the first to tell you, no. It didn't come easy. No. I didn't wake up and was born like this. I had to work at it. You know what I mean? And so speaking of working at things and speaking of Tortorella, I want to throw a quick question here at you. And it was a quote that was made by Tortorella about a specific player, Morgan Frost, about how he was, how shall we say, having
up and down like a toilet seat?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Can you maybe? I have never really been a fan of Frost. I have tried really hard to watch this young man play in all facets of the game, and I've tried to give him the benefit of the doubt as best as I possibly can. Please explain to me, what am I missing about Frost that has got everybody so chomping at the bit about this guy? Can you help explain that to me?
I don't think you're missing anything, and I don't know that people feel that way right now. I think there's more people down on him than are up on him.
Yeah.
You know, look, he put up huge numbers in the OHL. He played on one of the great. I played with Kachuk on that line, and they never had to defend in the OHL. Why? They had the puck 85% of the time. Mm-hmm. You know, so he came to the NHL, or came to the pro game with a different level of expectation, because that was his experience. And he's got a lot of skills. And then you see the numbers, you put him side by side with Giroux's, junior numbers, Giroux in the queue, and they're pretty much identical. And I think people thought that he was going to be that here. But there's a lot of guys that score big numbers in junior that get to the NHL and are not goal scorers.
Right, exactly.
It's just such a harder, and there's a litany of reasons. And it's not just that the goaltenders are better. Right. It's the ability to get to the right spots in the NHL.
Oh, yeah.
And all of those things. So, I mean, he's a guy that has flashed in prior seasons to this one. Before his shoulder injury, and when he first came into the league, he was a guy that was really flashing and on a good path of development, and was an AHL All-Star, as a matter of fact, and putting up good numbers there, and looked like he was poised to have this nice, direct line to the NHL, to being a guy that could be an offensive player and really contribute. But when he had the shoulder injury and COVID and all that happened at kind of the same time, it really derailed, I think.
Set him back,
momentum. Yeah. And changed his momentum and his trajectory. And he hasn't gotten it fully back under him just yet. Now, part of that is also that after all of that happened, he came into a team that was a hot mess with AV and then Mike Yeo last year. So he's gotten a lot of different voices, a lot of different expectations. We want you to do it this way. Then, Mike Yeo was preaching something different, and now probably something slightly altered with Torts too. So I don't know what he's going to be. I know he's got skill and he's, got a pedigree, but he hasn't shown that pedigree consistently enough at the NHL level. He's generated some good chances for the Flyers, but like Torts says, it doesn't matter if you generate a good chance if you don't finish it. It only matters because they don't put generated a good chance on the scoreboard, and you can beat a team.
Yeah, that's not one of the things that they're keeping track of at the score sheet.
Yeah, if you get 4 really counts as one. No, it doesn't work that way.
Well, I think that Tippett is a step ahead of him. Where he was in Florida. Florida, he was that guy that was getting chances. He was getting pucks on the net, but he wasn't finishing. He wasn't able to get it to go in, and now he is starting to, for sure. Now, I think Morgan Frost was overhyped. He had a great junior career, as most players that get drafted do, but once he came here, we saw the struggles of Nolan Patrick with him being injured and, everything else. And we looked to Morgan Frost to be that guy, to be that number one prospect that was going to change the face of the franchise and everything else, and be that second coming of Claude Giroux, because we saw Claude Giroux getting older and, phasing out. And we wanted him to be something that, he clearly wasn't and hasn't achieved yet. And, like Jason said, so many different things kind of derailed him at times during past seasons. And, the kid's been given every chance under the book, playing with Giroux prior years, playing, top 6 minutes because of Kevin Hayes' injuries in the past and Sean Couturier's still ailing injuries. I just think that Flyers fans and management, possibly even in media, did him a disservice because they put him up on this pedestal, and now he's kind of unable to live up to that. And now
did they put him on that pedestal, or did his numbers and everything else put him on that?
I don't think his numbers did, because I don't put it. I'm a big prospect guy, and I look into all leagues all over the world and really look at guys, and I did not see
You
the
didn't see him
impact.
translating?
I didn't see him translating as quickly as others did, for sure. I think
Yeah,
of him more of
I agree.
a Scott Lawton. You know, he took time to really get it all together and find his game at the NHL level. You know,
Well, he also was a full-time NHL player, went and played a year back in the AHL,
Yeah.
and
Right.
then came back as 2.0.
right, and
Yeah.
I see that because
Yeah.
you know, although he was a first round pick as well, you know, it took him time. Not everybody's going to develop at the same rate, and you know, I don't see that it factor for Morgan Frost. I think that fans and are going to have to be okay with him being a third line center at best. I do not see personally. I do not see him being any more than that.
I would move him to
for
the
a good
wing,
team.
Lance.
For a
I'd
good
move him
team.
to the
I
wing.
would too. I would too. I
Yep.
think he doesn't
you-
have the size to play center. I think
Right.
he has the speed to play wing, and hopefully he gets a little bit more elusive if he played wing to be
Mhm.
able to get into those spots that he sometimes is able to get to as a center. But we all know
Yep.
right now they're just hurting so bad at center that Torts isn't even got the guys to be able to try him over there for any length of time to see how he'll do. So
Yeah.
I really think that would be the smartest plan with him. But I think that, you know, they got to take him down off that pedestal, as fans are starting to realize now. And I've been saying this for years, like, you guys are
Mhm.
doing him this disservice. So
Yeah.
Do
I
you
think
he's here next year? I mean, he only signed a 1 year, 825 or something like that. Do you think
still
he's gonna?
restricted. So
yeah.
beyond
Okay.
that. So I mean, it all depends on what Torts thinks of him right now, and he's got a lot to show Torts. Right?
Okay.
And I think the thing with him too is he's a player to me that's better leading the rush wide as a winger than he is a guy that's, you know, got to come from below the circles and join a rush.
Yeah.
I think
yeah.
that just opens up for his skill set on the wing so much better. But there's also something that comes along with that. Is in the D zone, you can't be afraid to have a D man, you know, a Victor Hedman crashing down the wall
Yeah.
as a rim's coming to you to break out.
Yeah.
Like, you can't shy away from that. Like,
Yeah.
that's the tough spot for wingers, right?
Yeah. You got to be that Sammy Kapanen and take that hit.
Yeah, you got to be ready to stand in because, you know, some big D men are going to come down that wall and throw the thump. And that was an issue with him is on the wing before. And one of the reasons probably why they moved him to center to get him off of those board battles. So his board work's got to get better if he's going to play the wing. But to me, that's where I think he belongs at the NHL level. I think he can create more from the outside as opposed to inside out, playing the center position as well. So I think that eventually that would be the better place for him. And I hope that he gets that opportunity because they get guys back that can fill up the middle of the ice.
Yeah. So do you think he'll be here next year? I mean, I guess it's more of one of those things where I guess it all depends on what Torts thinks, huh?
Yeah, it's all gonna come to Torts and
Okay.
his you know, evaluation of, is this a guy that fits with what I want to do and what I want to build? I mean, he's building
Moving forward, yeah.
I mean, he's just dug the foundation. He's just starting maybe to lay some foundational blocks now. I mean, I think the big
yeah, I
foundational
agree.
block that he's laid is that Lawton's his leader. I mean, to me, that's his number one foundational block, and that's the center block that he's gonna build off of.
They don't
So
call him
that's what I was
Sarge
just
for
gonna
nothing,
ask
right?
you.
I mean,
Yeah.
That was just going to be my next question, actually, is that I saw a lot of good things from him. And I think that was one of the major impacts of the Islander game was the fact that Scott Lawton was back in the lineup, as well as playing more of the complete game, playing, you know, they were engaged. Everybody was on the same page, things of that nature. At the beginning of the season, Lance and I kind of thought and felt that he would be our pick for captain as far as to go forward with, obviously, because Couturier is not, and probably, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with him. Do you feel that he would be that type of player, that he's gotten to that point now where he's an impact player now for this team?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think your captain needs to be your best player.
I agree.
Yeah, I've never believed that.
Yeah, we're in the same boat.
I mean, like you played the game.
Right.
Leadership was never one guy. It was never three guys. It's about 45% of your roster is leadership in varying forms of vocal. It's not some guys, it's not vocal. It's just follow me and what I do and how I show up every day ready to play. And Lotz is more of that kind of guy. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's a reason why they close out that Islanders game is because you had a player like Lawton there who doesn't panic in a situation like that.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons why they were so good in 1920 is because not because Matt Niskanen was Bobby Orr, because he wasn't.
Right.
Right.
But because Matt Niskanen could go on the ice at a really key moment in a second period, and for 2 or 3 successive shifts, nothing happened.
Right.
Literally, the puck was the play was from the top of the circle in the D zone to the top of the circle in the offensive zone, but nothing happened. No high event hockey. Just went in and just calmed the game down at the right time.
Yes.
Like that element of the game is so important and underrated because the game is all about having momentum, keeping it as long as you can keep it. And then when you lose it, getting it back as quickly as you can get it back and then retaining it again for as long as you can. And that when you have it, you have something to show for it on the scoreboard. And when you don't have it, that you prevent the other team from having something for having had it. Like that's the game in a nutshell to me. That is hockey personified. And, Niskanen was a guy that, he wasn't a great player, but he knew those times in games when we need to have a couple nothing burger shifts here. Just we'll get back to grabbing momentum and dictating. But in the meantime, we just got to stop letting them, stop bleeding out in our own zone.
Exactly.
And he knew how to do that. And Lawton's another guy that knows how to do that. I thought Torts gave him one of the best compliments you could give a pro hockey player, and he's a pro's pro. It's like in baseball when you call a guy a gamer. You call a baseball player, hey, your manager today was at the podium, and he said that you're a gamer, and watch the player go right away.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate compliment.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, when I was playing, I loved those defensemen. And I personally think that like Niskanen or, Desjardins and Timonen and so many, they weren't my
favorite. Yeah.
They weren't the best defenders of anything,
Nope.
right? They weren't
Darian Hatcher.
They probably weren't Hall of Famers, but they came in and they settled the game down and settled me down when I was in net. That type of player. I can think of one job. I can think of one player that I played from 6 years old all the way to high school, college, whatever. Every time he stepped on the ice, it brought a calming presence. Uh-huh. He wasn't a huge point producer. He wasn't a guy that was flashy in a sense. And I think that the league has gone so far away from those players that they want every single defenseman now to put up 50 points a season. I don't want that as a goalie. I want that guy that's a calming presence that can be almost invisible out on the ice and do those little things to not have to make some spectacular play because he's way out of position. Mm-hmm. In my mind. And I think Niskanen was the last Flyers defenseman that really did that, just a little, nuances or whatever in his game that really settled the game down, prevented him from having to make that big flashy play to get back because he was always in the right position. He wasn't trying to push too much. He knew when to take it into the zone and push when he had the chance, when somebody was backing him up. And, I don't see that from guys like Sanheim or others who are still young and trying to push the puck a little too much as a defenseman and, getting burnt a lot of times, like you said, Jason, seeing those, 2-on-0 breaks or 2-on-1 breaks going the other way because he was trying to do a little too much as a defenseman in my mind, and maybe that's just me being an old goaltender and not appreciating that player that doesn't do his job first. A defenseman's jobs first is to prevent goals, is to defend.
Thank you. Hello.
To prevent
Your title
goals
is called
from
defenseman.
Happening.
Yeah.
Right. And so many defensemen aren't that anymore.
Yeah, because you have guys like Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar that are just so dynamic.
Phenomenal.
everybody wants to see. I think of hockey players as being bipolar in a way. Like you have your manic side, their ceiling, and then you have their depressive side, which is their basement. And everybody wants this high end plus side. But if the basement's down here, I'd rather have a guy that has a lower ceiling, but doesn't even have a basement.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like his game's always here because it adds to two things. It adds to predictability, and I know what I'm going to get, not only game in, game out, but shift in, shift out. Number one, and for goalie, that's everything. And if you ever want to know how a guy defends, get a goalie on his team on the podcast and feed him some truth serum, alcohol, and ask him. Because they will tell you, because they know how he defends, not by the analytics, not by the eye test, not by anything else, but by something that a goalie can feel, which is stress. Right. The stress, A, when he walks on the ice, based on past experience, the stress, B, in that game, based on the opponent, and all of those elements. Little plays for a goalie are really the key to how he feels comfortable. So you can always tell. There's guys that jump over the ice in certain spots, and you're going, why is coach putting this guy in this situation? I know they have a huge line out there right now. Like Gossesbear. Why is he on a D zone draw and they've got Brock Nelson, Anders Lee, and somebody else out there? Yeah, like this is not a good spot for him. Like this is not going to end well for me. Right. And I'm the one that they point at when the red light goes off in an opposing building and the horn goes off. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's how you feel as a goalie. It's a selfish thing, but it's also a team thing.
Very true. I mean, there's a reason why you're follically challenged and I have all this gray. Yeah. You know, because that stress, that stressful play of, you know, having those players that just don't do their main job first. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what, going back to Torts, that's what he's trying to teach him, and building that foundation of, you know, being a complete player and doing your job first without trying to be the flashy, the stuff that may have got you here.
Yep.
You know, now it's time to take it back to hockey winning. 101, to winning, to the basics, to regain that winning, you know, Flyers nature that, you know, has seen the team so successful over the course of their, you know, whole franchise history.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the other part of it too, from like the goaltending perspective, is like the goaltender in hockey. And I talked to Bush about this the other day. I'm doing a whole thesis on this.
Okay.
We're all bananas after we play, because as athletes, and as an alpha athlete and a guy, you want to control, because athletically, that's what you're there to do. You're there to control the situation. But as a goalie, you have such little control in your environment and what happens to you in a game. So it's my theory that goalies, a lot of us, end up being very OCD, because we control everything around us, because we couldn't control the one thing we wanted, and that was athletically. And so, you know, you see so many goalies with these routines that are 8-10 hours long on game day.
Yeah.
They have to control every minute of the day, because when they get out there to control the ultimate thing they want to control, it's all dependent on their team in front of them. And it drives us crazy.
Yeah.
It does. Like, we have some control in how we, you know, read a play, or what we give and what we plan to take away, or save selection and those things. But, you know, that lack of control is part of the equation. And, you know, we just want, as a goalie, you just want predictability and environment. Yeah. So I know that if there's a guy on the back door, I don't have to worry about him. I can take the shooter. I can take a little more ice, because I don't have to move east-west. Right. Because I know that guy is muted because his stick's tied up, or however
wrapped up. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have to worry about him. The minute I got to worry about, is my D doing the job over on the back door? Now I'm a human. I'm absolutely leaning, because I've been beaten back door twice in this game already, because defenseman, whoever, is not doing his job on the back door. Now I lean a little bit, and I'm playing in the NHL, which is too unforgiving. And the second I lean a little bit and my weight is distributed to my left foot because I want to push to my right, shooter reads that and goes, I'm just going to beat you high short side now. And now I look like an idiot, right?
All out of position.
And again, this all lends into the OCD nature of goaltenders. Yes. We just want consistency of predictability and environment, and you'll never get it. Yeah. And it's why I can't watch a movie upstairs in my house if there's a dirty dish in the sink. You know what I mean? It filters into your personal life to a point where, and there's a ton of us dealing with the same exact thing. It doesn't matter if you played the NHL level, if you played the position for a long enough period of time, you have got OCD issues.
I definitely do. That's funny that you point that out.
I'll attest to that for sure.
Oh my. That's a lot.
Everything's
got to
be right.
Statement. That's a lot
because
of truth
you can
in
control
that statement.
That stuff. You know.
So let's, since we're on the verge of goaltenders here, where do you see Carter Hart's now he's been up and down with his game, over the past couple of years, and he started it out this year looking very well. One of the best goaltenders even in the league, I would say, given his lack of help. Now, recently, the games seem to be more and more out of whack. You're 4-5-1, losses and everything like that.
6 empty netters on his watch.
A lot of empty netters. Yes, yep. I'll give him that. Do you see his confidence beginning to break? Do you see his ability to come back the next night? I did a piece on this recently, and I was a big proponent for that's my net, and I want the net, and I think the Flyers have how many back-to-backs this year? Close to
15.
Yeah, 15. I was going to say
total. Yeah,
15 total. So I mean, that is a lot of games to give up to a backup that is not, in my mind, an NHL backup. Sandstrom has stepped in and really tried to be something that he's not yet. Like we said, possibly with Morgan Frost and everything like that. He's stepped up. He's tried to play well, but it's not being.
A young goaltender is hard to be a backup because he doesn't know if he can be an NHL goaltender.
Right.
A veteran backup has already been there, been an NHL goaltender, knows he can do it, so he can handle the mental part of it a lot differently.
Right.
And I agree with you about Sandstrom.
That killed me about why they didn't try to do something like that more in the off season, and then even when they found out that there was going to be more long-term injuries, which would free up a little bit of cap space, where they could have maybe gotten somebody.
You're talking about is after Ivan, like the fiasco,
the Fedotov thing happened first. That's the first part. Which
no, I understand that. Yeah, but I mean, we really that.
What were you going to get? Like, let's be honest.
At that point,
And if you're going into this year with this notion of we got to find out who's who, you drafted Felix Sandstrom in 2015, right? You got to find out what he is. Now, finding out at the NHL level, tough, really tough, not only on him, but on all involved. So I'm fine with it this year. When you're ready to compete, though, I can't go into a year with this kind of situation.
Okay.
I much prefer, like, you could have gone out and gotten a Holtby.
That's what we were talking about.
I did an article on that too. Yeah, I did an article.
I have some intel on Holtby, though. If Holtby's not starting, he's a problem.
Yeah, he's a cancer.
He's an issue. Like, if he's not playing and he doesn't own the crease, it's why he didn't succeed in Vancouver. Like, I found that out. It was Demko's crease.
Right.
And, like, here it's Carter's crease. Like, he knows. And he's got a relationship with Carter. He worked out with Holtby before. John Stevenson, who was Carter's, sports psychologist, also worked with Holtby for years. But maybe we could use some more work because he can't handle, not having the crease. But as far as Carter goes, though, I mean, Lance, I think he's always been really ahead of the curve from a maturity and, all of those mental aspects of the game. I was talking to him over the summer, and this wasn't on a podcast or anything. I was just talking to him, and I'm like, how are you parking it? How are you parking these last 2 years? Because it was tough.
It is.
He's a young guy, didn't have family around, didn't have his billet family, lived by himself through the pandemic and the whole thing, and it bothered him. He talked about that publicly. But he told me this summer, like, he went home right away, kind of did his thing there for a week, then went out to California and just played golf and played tennis and hung out with friends and just parked the whole thing.
That's good.
And came into this year totally refocused and of a different mindset that, hey, not all bad things that happen to me are a result of just me. or sometimes as a goalie, you'll put everything on you because
for sure.
You know, you're the one that carries a goals against average. You're the one that carries a save percentage. Very few times do people go, well, what's the team save percentage? Or what's the team goals allowed?
Yeah.
You look at the individual. So, and his numbers got really sideways as a result. And this year, like, I mean, obviously the start, Lance, was ridiculous. I mean, 8 games in, he had a .949 save percentage, which is absurd. A lot of those are a result
all day long.
High shot volume, though, too. You know, shot volume for a goaltender in a lot of ways is better than low shot volume.
Yes.
So that's number one. Number two, he kind of hit the skids there. The weird thing is that when he had the .949, I thought he gave up in 6 of those 8 games a goal that he didn't like in those games. Whether it was the one that just went over his skate as he's in a post integration, skate on post, or a couple went through him. Goalies never like anything that goes through them. I don't care how it happens. Nothing through me because I got there and I should have closed everything. But, you know, in the other period of time where they were losing the games, you know, you got to look at it with the eye test with him. I thought his play was very solid. It wasn't as dominant as it was before, but he was playing for a team that's averaging 2.4 goals per game. And that just adds such another layer of pressure to the position that's, I mean, if you can't score more than 3 goals in this league, you're not going to win. And you win very few games 2-1 or 3-1. So it's a very tough position to be in as a goalie when, you know, if I give up more than 2, we're probably going to lose. And that's a hard spot to be in, game out. It really is a difficult spot. But I think he's handled it well. You know, talking to him real quick after the game against the Islanders on Tuesday, he thought it was their best team game start to finish of the season. And he was really good in the game. I mean, the only goal he gives up is the Dobson one-timer on the 5-on-3 from basically inside the top of the circle on an east-west play. I mean, that puck's got to hit him or it's going in. And it doesn't hit him, and it doesn't go wide, and it goes in. But he's been bearing down. Even when he's given up an early goal, he's dominated games. So I think his mental game has gone to the next level. As far as, you know, the physical aspects of his game, I think he's added more elements to his bag of tricks of, you know, he's a technical goaltender, efficient in movement. When he's really on it and reading well, he makes a lot of saves look really easy that are not easy saves because he beats the pass on his skates and he's there waiting on it. It's why Price got into so many guys' head because just an east-west play. And the guy looks up getting ready to take the one-timer, and Price is there having a margarita. He's been there for like 2 seconds already. Yeah. The shooter's like, Jesus, are you kidding me? How's he there?
Yeah, right.
Because he didn't take a ton of ice. He was so efficient in reading it and was there waiting on it. And then, but if you played against like a Marc-Andre Fleury who took more ice, right, he's got way further to travel. So he doesn't come over and get square and set up and ready for your shot. He's flying over like, you know, and it looks like, oh, look at him battle. That's self-inflicted.
That's a Hasek-esque, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
there you go.
A lot of times when you see these crazy acrobatic saves for a goalie, that's all a self-inflicted wound by the goalie, a misread that happens or a scramble. And Carter's not that way. But I've seen him this year go to desperation a lot quicker with much more effectiveness than he ever did in the past. Your technical foundation is exactly that, a foundation that on my worst night when I can't read any plays or read the shots or I'm not seeing things well or seeing things develop, that I have this baseline that I can always rely on. But in a game when I'm feeling it, I've got that. And I've got this extra thing on top of it of compete. And he's got more of that this year than I think we've seen ever before.
Well, that's great to hear because it's tough to watch these past couple of, you know, losses and stuff. And I really want to see his mental focus stay there because it is so tough when your team is not scoring and all that. So it's good to hear that he's hopefully taking that next step. But, you know, and Jason, it's just like with Sandstrom. I don't see him having that next level to pull out wins, and that's what was frustrating for me because he makes the stops that he's supposed to make for sure. Is technically sound and everything. He looks great, but he doesn't pull out that 1 or 2 stops a game that keep you in it or win you the game. Yeah, and that's if you know something that he may have been able to work on if he was in Lehigh this year. But it's
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Goaltending to me is making all the saves you're supposed to make.
Yes.
And
then some.
A few more that you have no business making, and at key times, right? And that's the key to success. And there's elements of his game. Like, I think his post work is unbelievable. Like, he's great on dead angles and post integration and RVH. He's great on that stuff. But there's times when a puck on a low to high play comes out and he's still down in RVH when he should be back on his edges. Right. And when you're not back on your edges, you're just giving up so many options that you have from a save selection standpoint, and it's too easy to get beat high. Because you can't get the glove up by the ear like you can get it up to your shoulder. And NHL shooters will exploit that, and they have.
And they see that, they're able to recognize that as well too. And
they don't need to be told; they just know.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They don't need to be told that that's something that they recognize, and those are the kinds of things too that they pick out too. So, and I got to tell you something, man. What do you think, Lance? We got to take. We're sorry we had to take an hour of your time, Jason.
That's all right. Boys, I just love talking hockey. I don't care when it is or what it's about, as long as we're talking. We got on a little tangent about goaltending, and I got to spread my thesis a little bit further, which is always a hidden agenda that I may have.
I'm interested to read that.
Yeah, well, I'll be interested to read that. Yeah.
Well, I can guarantee this. Yeah. I will not be writing it because I cannot write.
Okay.
I'm a broadcaster, and that is it.
I know a guy who can write. So we'll have to talk.
I'm looking at him.
Right. We'll have to talk.
And it ain't me. And it ain't me.
So yeah, definitely, Jason. I appreciate this. We'll have to do this again sometime. It was enlightening for sure to see the inside look. Guy who is obviously closest to the team out of any of us for sure. So thank you for agreeing to come on with us, and we'll definitely have to do this again sometime.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Anytime you guys want to do it. Like I said, I just love talking about the game. Like this game, when I have two older brothers that are 5 years older than me, that are twins, and they started playing when they were 7, and that's when the game got its hooks in me. I was 2 or 3, right? And then I got on the ice at like 3.5 to learn to skate, pushing a chair around, the whole thing, right? And then ended up in net, of course, because I had 2 older brothers.
That's what I was going to say. That's why you were goalie.
yeah. Well, there's either A, B, or A and B is the answer on why you're a goalie. Like, I've asked 1,000 guys this question that play at all different levels. They go, what happened? It's either I have an older brother, or I just love the equipment, or it's I had an older brother and I love the equipment. Yeah. Which it was for me, which is why you see all the masks behind me. Like the mask just intrigued me to no end. Like the Bernie mask, which you see back there, and then Pelly with the straight white mask.
Oh yeah.
And then you could start to get into some creativity when Fuhrer goes to the mask cage combo, and all those things. I think the first guy to wear the mask cage combo in the NHL was actually Chico Resch, but then you saw that come in, and then guys really started having fun with design. And I got my mask all around here. My last mask is right here, and that I wore, that's all dented up, and
there you go.
All these bars are bent because at my height, your head's always in the danger zone. He's 6'2" and above goalies.
Thick helmet then, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's an H.R. Geiger design that my buddy Doug. Doug Wager did from Weaselhead, and did a great job on a PSU thing over here somewhere, and he put a Flyers logo in there. But yeah, I mean,
that's really cool.
Great mask, and I just love the game, and I love talking about it.
That's awesome. We have this penchant for goaltenders because we had Tommy Soderstrom on last year or the year before, and he was amazing to talk about. And he talked about how he was more of the plain cage, the bird cage is what they called it.
Well, he wore a helmet and mask. He wore a helmet cage combo. He wore a Jofa helmet.
Yeah.
And that's what I wore growing up too. Like, we didn't have the masks back then. Yeah, and I wore
the Hasek Cooper helmet. And
SK2000. Yep, that's what I had. And I had a cage on it. And I remember when I was working at Phillips Exeter Academy's hockey school in New Hampshire, I was a counselor, and we had counselors and coaches games. I was telling the story at the rink in the press room the other night. And in these games, like all the coaches and stuff were like NHL players or pro players, D1 guys. And this guy who played for the Leafs, I think his name was Teddy Gallo, took a slap shot inside the blue line, started at my knees, and came up and hit me right here in the head. Right in the Cooper logo. And you probably can't see it, but there's a big scar. It's right here where my hairline was. It so much pressure, it ripped my head open. And I got 18 stitches inside and out. And I'm back in the infirmary, and I'm standing there, and Doc's like, look at me. He's like, oh, yeah, you're going to need some stitches, and getting all his stuff together. And he turns around. He's like, you all right? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you're looking a little green. I looked down at my jersey. It was white. It was all covered in blood. And next thing I know, I passed out. I woke up. My legs in my pads, still in skates, or up on the chair, trying to get blood back in me. And that helmet, because the padding inside those helmets was so absorbent, I could never get the blood stain out of the padding on the helmet.
Oh my god!
So I called it my Gorbachev helmet because I had the big blood stain right on it, right there where it was. So he stitches me up 18, right? This is 1988 or 89. He gives me 18 stitches, sticks a donut pad in my helmet right there, sends me right back out for the third.
There you
go.
A little puck shy for a little bit there, but probably pulling up on everything. Oh,
yeah, right.
Not gonna get this dome again. But then I was too dumb to give up the position, and yeah.
Like I said, man, we have a penchant for goalies, and we definitely appreciate the position. That's for sure. And I've gotten a distinct honor and pleasure of being able to work with a professional in Lance. And I got to be honest with you, Jason. I do have a deep appreciation for what you're doing, and how you're putting it together, and what you're putting down, and things like that. And I have a lot of respect for what you're doing. So just wanted to let you know that, and we really, really appreciate you being here and taking the time out to being on the show. And like I said, man, we're gonna hold you to it. We'll have you back, man. We'll be calling you like you won't believe.
Yeah, my phone's on. You guys know how to get a hold of me. I'm around. Anytime you need anything, you let me know.
Awesome. Same for you. Anytime you need anything, all I have to do is pick up the phone, and I'll be more than happy to do whatever you need, sir.
Appreciate it very much.
Yeah, man.
You got it. So, Lance, why don't you tell the folks where we can find you and where we can get all your great stuff?
Sure. Guys, as always, you can find all my articles on SteelFlyers.com. You can find me on Twitter at Lance.Green39.
Awesome. And our esteemed guest, Jason, can you tell the folks where we can find you and where we can get all your great stuff?
Geez, I don't know. I have so much. At Jason Myrt on Twitter, JSONMYRT. All my stuff's on Apple, iTunes, Google, all that stuff. Flyers Daily, which I do every day. Stick to Hockey Live, which I do every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's a live show, but it's also available on demand. And Stick to F1 actually is on break right now because the F1 season's over until March. And then I do the Odd G's podcast with my old radio partner, Harry Mays, as well, which is available
there you go.
On all the podcasting platforms as well. So that's
busy man.
Yeah.
Busy, like I said, man, the busiest man in
pods
Philly.
a week.
Woo! Busiest man in Philly. And we got a little slice of that, folks. So I'm SteelFlyers, your co-host for the great Hockey Writers Ink. This has been episode 103, and we brought you the very special guest of Jason Myrtetus on the Hockey Writers Ink. I'm SteelFlyers, your co-host. You can find me on Twitter at SteelFlyers52. Thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you guys all on the next episode of the Hockey Writers Ink.